Hello and welcome to my Didactical lesson design presentation. My name is Carolyn Running. For this assignment I've chosen to work with Roald Dahl's poem The Crocodile. My reasons are varied. From a cultural perspective, I believe that Roald Dahl is a household name in many English-speaking countries. Personally, I remember reading and being read Dahl's books and thoroughly enjoying the wittiness and indeed naughtiness of his writing. Pupils may be intrigued to find out some facts about his colourful life and, of course, his strong links to Norway. He is also known for his fantastical creative descriptive language that is appealing to the language learner and encourages their own creativity and willingness to experiment with the English language, basically to have fun with the English language. This lesson plan is aimed at 8th grade pupils. Indeed, I had my own 8th graders in mind when designing these series of lessons. There are 2 to 3 lessons of 60 minutes each, and this will depend on, of course, on the class's competency and dynamics, etc. As it is aimed at 8th graders, I have been mindful of varying the methods as much as possible to keep them active and engaged. Pupils will be involved in group work, individual work, listening, writing, and speaking activities. I have chosen to focus on 3 competence aims from LK06 after year 10, which I have then in turn broken down into learning goals. Oral communication, to use the central patterns for pronunciation, intonation, word reflection, and different types of sentence in communication. The learning goal here is to read a poem with focus on rhythm, rhyme, and pronunciation. Written communication, to write different types of texts with structure and coherence. The learning goal here is to write a poem based on the rules of Sin-Quin poetry. Culture, society and literature, to discuss, elaborate different types of English literature from English-speaking countries. The learning goal here is to learn about Roald Dahl, his life and work. Basically, this means for pupils that when they leave the classroom after these 3 lessons, they should be armed with facts about Roald Dahl and his life, be very familiar with one of his poems, The Crocodile, have produced a group poem, an individual poem, and hopefully be more confident in their English pronunciation and also more confident in their ability to be creative in their use of the English language. Part 1, or Lesson 1, is a pre-reading phase, getting to know the author. In this pre-reading phase, the emphasis is on eliciting what the students already know about Roald Dahl and bringing them on a fact-finding mission. I would start by using some visual prompts by Quentin Blake, who is best known for his illustrations of Dahl's books. These would be followed by some titles of Dahl's books and films based on his books. Chances are they will guess Roald Dahl fairly quickly, and after the usual giggle about how English speakers pronounce Roald Dahl, I would ask them some follow-up questions. For example, is he Norwegian? Did he live in Norway? Why is he very well known in English-speaking countries? What do you know about him? The next step is to create a biographical montage on the whiteboard where lots of facts and information about Roald Dahl are gathered. Dahl led an interesting, colourful life that influenced his writing greatly, and as Hege Hestnes states, it is hoped that this activity will spur students' curiosity about the author and make them want to learn more. Keywords related to Dahl's life are written on the board. Pupils divided into small groups are given a website and told to search for the piece of information related to the keyword. Information is then gathered on the board by the students, and after this I would then sew the pieces of the puzzle together, so to speak, and inform the students on the life of Roald Dahl. After which each pupil would write down approximately 5 facts that he or she found most interesting. Reading phase. At this stage, the poem The Crocodile would be introduced. I would read the poem twice, after which the pupils would be invited to share what images were created in their heads whilst listening. For the third reading, it is an active listening activity. Pupils are given a copy of the poem and they mark or underline words that are unfamiliar or unclear. After the third reading, we take an understanding check and explain vocabulary if necessary. The fourth reading, the focus is on pronunciation, rhythm and rhyme. I would read 2 lines at a time with clear intonation and focus on rhythm, for example, clapping out syllables, and students would repeat after me. And as Hestnes states, poetic texts are excellent for reading aloud and provide good opportunities for pronunciation exercises, both for individual words and sentence melodies. The reading phase is continued by reading in choir. First of all, working in pairs, pupils read the poem to each other, practicing pronunciation and reading with rhythm. After which they are divided into small groups of 6 to 8 pupils, standing shoulder to shoulder facing inwards. In this activity, the pupils may play with the poem as they like. Each reading approximately 4 lines. They can read loudly, quietly, stamping out the rhythm with their feet, reading in an American accent, an English accent, acting out the lines, basically letting their creativity flow. A post-reading phase, as Hestnes states, is possession taking, where the students take possession of the poem. We can use this to wrap up and help the students refocus. They write down the poem in full or in sections, depending on their level, in their copybooks, and have time here to focus on spelling, time to reflect on the rhythm and the rhyme in the poem. And here we have the first half of the poem, The Crocodile. Part 2 or lesson 2 is poem preparation. Open the lesson with a short animated film of the poem, serving as a reminder of the poem and its content, rhythm and rhyme. Pupils identify rhyming words in the poem, and followed up by a rhyming exercise. Pupils are divided into small groups, and each group is given a word which they must follow. They must come up with as many rhyming words in 3 minutes. Dictionaries are allowed, of course. For example, the words green, sweet, bed, well, and few. Groups then share the words that they have found on the board. Poem writing in groups, using the crocodile as inspiration and also the words gathered from the previous exercise. The pupils write a 4-lined poem in small groups. The poems then perform or read out their poems to the rest of the class, and if time allows, they can also create an illustration that represents their poem or make posters to be hung up around the classroom. Part 3 or lesson 3 is poem writing continued, and here the students are introduced to the Sinquin poem and also the rules of this type of poem, which have 5 lines. They have 2 syllables in the first line, 4 syllables in the second line, 6 syllables in the third line, 8 syllables in the fourth line, and 2 syllables in the last line. And here is an example based on the crocodile. The croc, green and greedy, eating, chasing, crunching, munching kids on a Saturday. Monster. Pupils now work individually on their own Sinquin poem. Possible topics are sport, school, family, friends, an animal, favourite pop star, actor, etc., etc. They decide what they want to write about, brainstorm words or phrases related to the topic, and are importantly informed that this can rhyme, this type of poem, but it does not have to at all. Pupils then present their poems creatively on a poster, adding illustrations if they wish to be hung up around the classroom. Pupils can then present their poetry one by one, ideally over many classes, so that a small bit of poetry is evident in every English class over a period of time. That was my didactical lesson design presentation, and here are my references. Thank you for listening.